Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This is episode 236. Yes, that's correct. That's a lot of live streams, but welcome one and all. For those who don't know me, I'm Gavin Weber, and I'm the host of the show and the chief curd nerd who will attempt to answer your home cheese making questions. It should be a good hour. We'll see how it goes. Alrighty, big thank you as always to all of the financial members who support the show. We have an ever-growing list of YouTube members and patrons. No new ones since the last show, but thanks to everybody who has pledged their support on a monthly basis, their financial support. So thank you so much to everybody there as a YouTube member, and thank you so much to all of the patrons over on Patreon. Now, of course, there are different tiers of membership and you get different perks for those different members. Anyway, thank you so much. Now, let's... so, hang on, before we go. The format of the show is basically you ask a question in the chat about cheese making or anything relating to cheese making or cheese, and I'll be happy to answer. Basically then about the 30-minute mark, halfway through the show, we have a gallery of photos that curd nerds, who are some are in the chat, have sent through to me, and we'll talk about those as we go through the photos. And smattered through the stream, there will be some cheesy jokes, so that'll be fun. Okay, let's have a look. Well, who have we got in the chat today? We've got Shauna. Hello, Shauna in Tassie. You say it's wet there? It seems to be wet everywhere in the East Coast, and I think in the West Coast, the Southwest anyway. G'day to Wodge. How are you, mate? Good to see you. G'day, Jaya, all the way from Hyderabad in India. Lovely to see somebody from India today. And who else have we got? We've got Colin. Hello, Colin. Lovely to see you. And you report that it's wet there too. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. G'day to Perlo. I think that's how you say it. Perlo. Lovely to see you. And Peter in Zambia. Lovely to see you as well, Peter. First time I think I've seen you on the chat. Katerina, hello, how are you? Michael in Adelaide and Jenny, how are you both? Hope you're doing well. And as you mentioned, it is... how's the rain going? It's raining in Adelaide lightly for the last 3 days. I don't know where spring has gone. Indeed. Same here. Yesterday we had one heck of a thunderstorm. And it was just crazy. There was like rivers in the backyard. So what do you do except grin and bear it, I suppose. But the humidity, it's starting to warm up here. It was about 22 degrees Celsius today, and it was the humidity is starting to get into everything, and you feel sticky. So these flannelette shirts are going to have to go pretty soon, I reckon. So spring is here. It's just not the spring that we're used to. As far as I'm concerned anyway. So Colin says, hello Gavin, still damp over on the other side. Colin's in Western Australia, which is the other side of our country, which is massive. I guess the gum boots are getting a good workout. Indeed they are, mate. Yeah, I can't say much more than that, I suppose. Oh, certainly a workout. Art Lover says, please do Reblochon cheese. I'll put it on my list. I think it already is, but I haven't got around. I did try Reblochon once, but failed miserably, so I think it's about time we gave it another go. So, try that. Thank you for the suggestion, Art Lover. I appreciate it. Mochi Bun, hello, how are you? Lovely to see you again. Mersel from Algeria. Hello, Mersel. That's 2 of you from Algeria today. The other one is Perlo. Love to see you. Peter states that it's hot here, making cheese at night. Probably would have to, yeah. Oh, goodness me. And yeah, especially in Zambia, it's pretty close to the equator, so yeah, it'd be pretty hot. Anyway, lots of fun. So, we do have some questions. So, let's see. Who's the first question from? It's from Jaya. It says, can we press cheddar in a square pressing mould? Does it make any difference whilst aging? Funny you should say that. No, it doesn't. Even though the purists would say it would. If you're trying to get a cheddar that's the same texture as, say, West Country farmhouse cheddar, which is the AOC version of cheddar over from Somerset in the UK, then theirs is always cylindrical, their cheese, and it's always cloth wrapped, and it uses lard as the coating for the cloth. To stick it on. Sorry, I should amplify that. Commercial cheesemakers don't. They make them in square blocks, and then straight away they vacuum pack the cheese and let it mature for the 2-3 months tops, and you get your well, here in Australia anyway, your standard tasty cheese, and it's in a block. And I was looking at the other day in the supermarket the cost of this cheese. So for a 1 kilo block of cheese, I think it was like $6, right? You can't even buy milk for the same price. So they're obviously doing it en masse, as you would as a commercial operation, making it en masse and making hundreds and hundreds of kilograms of cheddar in this manner. And obviously after it's vac packed, it goes into a ripening. It's a room, massive big room that sits at about 13 degrees Celsius. So yeah, so that's the go there. So it doesn't really matter. You can make cheese in square blocks if you want, as cheddar that is. The other question from Jaya is when I do aged cheese, after cooking the curd, sometimes my curd floods on top. Maybe that's floats on top. Can you kindly clarify the reason? Okay, the only reason that curds would float on top after you've cooked the curds is if they're infected with either a yeast or a bacteria called coliform, which is not. It'll give you a stomach ache and make you feel sick. If you're using raw milk, and there are no assumptions here, so if you're using raw milk, then possibly it could be coliform bacteria, and it produces hydrogen gas and causes the curds to float. So not good. So that's probably what's going on, in my humble opinion. Colin says, Sunday will be my cheese making day. Thinking about Red Leicester. Any tips like on what could go wrong, or is this cheese easy peasy? Colin, Red Leicester is fairly easy to make if you follow the steps in the video. Just make sure, the video that I've made is Leicester. It wasn't Red Leicester. I didn't add enough annatto. Now, to get the colour that you're probably after for Red Leicester, for 10 litres of milk, if I remember rightly, that's what I used in the recipe, you'll need about 42 drops of annatto. Don't forget to dilute that in water first, just a quarter cup of non-chlorinated water. Put your 42 drops in, give it a good stir, pour into the milk, and you'll get the orangey sort of colour you're after for the Red Leicester. So, yeah, by not adding enough, you certainly won't get the colour you're used to when you see Red Leicester. Other than that, just follow the temperatures and the in the recipe, and you'll find that the cheddaring process is fairly easy. Just make sure you keep the curds warm during cheddaring, and then once you've broken it up, make sure you add enough salt. So now, in most recipes, I add 2 tablespoons of salt, non-iodized salt, to the cheese. One problem that may occur, depending on the type of milk that you're using, is the yield. The yield may increase by the type of animal you're getting it from. So basically what you want to do is it should be at a minimum of 2% of salt per weight of cheese. So if you weigh your cheese and it weighs a kilogram, then 2% is 20 grams, so 20 grams of salt. And it doesn't matter if it's fine or coarse, the weight is going to be the same, of course. So that's minimum. So normally I put in about 2.5% of salt per weight of curds. So always check that. If you don't have enough salt in your cheese, especially these English style like Red Leicester, then it tends to go bitter, and you will never get rid of the bitterness in the cheese, because it'll be an increase in peptides as the proteins break down in the cheese as it ages, and the salt dampens that. It stops that from happening. So make sure there's enough salt in the cheese. So hopefully that helps, Colin. Alrighty, next question is from H7 Apollo. Lovely to see you. How do they make mozzarella sticks? Well, which is aka string cheese. Well, what they do is they make a very basic sort of pasta filata, and they extrude it through a die. And I've saw a video of it because I was interested in how they make it as well. And they extrude it into long sticks, and they extrude it straight into little plastic bags. So it's one big long continuous plastic bag. And as it's going along, the machine twists it and puts that little metal clamp on the ends, on both ends, and then cuts it off. There you go. So that's how they make mozzarella or string cheese. So there you go. H7 Apollo says, okay, I'll check out your video. Your explanation makes sense. Thanks. No problems at all. One person we didn't say good day to was John. Hello, John. And John always has a marathon of icons. Oh, we even have a Spock one. Nice. I like that. The live long and prosper. Love it. Very cool. Thanks, mate. I think it's time for a joke, because we can. 13 minutes in, why not? Let's have a joke. Alrighty. My friend told me he hated blue cheese because it's literally just cheese with bacteria. I told him to stop discriminating against other cultures. Right. That's just silly. That's a silly joke. They're just getting sillier on these cards. Okay. A man storms into a bakery and says, I want to make a complaint. This muffin is mouldy and tastes like cheese. The baker rolls his eyes and says, well, you did ask for a blue brie muffin. Goodness me. That's just silly. Alrighty. That was one I missed. This is a classic. This is an all-time classic joke. A cheese flack... Hang on. Sip of bland. I made it myself from whey. You can go watch the video. It's very good. Okay. A cheese factory exploded in France today. Debris is everywhere. Get it? The cheese made in France. Brie. Very cheesy. Alrighty. One more. Why did the cheese want to get sliced? Because it had greater plans. Right, that's enough corny jokes at the moment. I'm sure there'll be some more later on. Anyway, we've got a question. Is it a question from Troy? Hello, Troy. Hey Gavin, greetings from Salt Lake City, Utah, USA. Just found you on YouTube and have been wanting to make cheese. Currently gathering my supplies to start my journey down the cheese hole. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so there's a few basic things that you may even have at home. So that's a good thing. So Troy, I do have a video on cheese making equipment that's already in the home kitchen. So if you go onto the channel and do a quick search, in fact, let's go and find it, because we can do that here on this channel. Yeah, where are we? So if we go to the channel page as normal, and if we look for I could spell it, equipment, and here we go. So here's the video here, simple cheese making equipment around the home. Can I? No, you can't. Oh, besides the ad, it's an Aussie ad, of course. Let me just get the link, and we will pop that into the. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the box? There it is. There we go. So that video should help you out a lot. So go and check that. That's equipment you'll need around home. And most well-stocked kitchens will have that. They'll have that in the home and have all the stainless steel equipment. If it's not stainless steel, it's plastic. That's okay. You can use bleach to sanitize instead of boiling. So, yeah, no big deal. Okay. Now, some of the... I had some feedback the other day from the... what the video? The Gavin reacts video to your cheese. What you can do? Can you please let me know in the chat? Did you watched it? Is the first one? Did you enjoy it? My narrative on all those different cheeses. Basically, it's an extract from shows like this, where we have a gallery. So I extracted the gallery out of 3 episodes. Obviously edited it to make sure it was understandable and there was no nothing too quirky or anything like that in there. So just it's getting some views, which is good. But let me know if you've seen it and you've enjoyed that that style of content. I will be making cheese, not this weekend, the weekend after. Again, I haven't quite decided what cheese it's going to be, but there will be another cheese making video out soon. Peter said, what is the drink made from whey? If I heard you right. Yes, indeed, I did make it from whey. It's actually a lactomel. There we go. So it's called Bland. I made it. I bottled it. I made it on the 2nd of March 2021. So it's a good 18 months old now. And can I show you? Put that in front of my head. There we go. It's crystal clear. Tastes like sherry. So it's only got a few interviews. It's only got a few ingredients in it, and that's whey from a cheese that I made. I think the cheese was Gouda. It's got honey and it's got yeast, and that's it. So now the video for that, if I can go and find that now, so I can put the link in there for you, Peter. If we want to see it, Bland, where is it? Okay, so the video is this one here, making alcohol from cheese whey, called Bland or Blonde. And of course, because I'm incognito, I get another ad, which is okay, because that's how I get paid on YouTube. It's always a good thing. There we go. So here's the link in the box. There it is. There we go. So that's how you make blonde. That's from the very start all the way to the finished, when it's totally clarified like this. So yeah, it's very nice indeed. Like I said, it tastes like sherry, which the first time I tasted it at about four months, maybe 4 months. Yeah, it was more like Chardonnay, but I aged it for a full 18 months. Yeah, in the demijohn, and it went crystal clear, and now it tastes like sherry, and it's lovely as an evening aperitif. So, hope that helps. Anyway, next question is from, where is it? Michael. Michael says, hi Gavin. Is there any time during the summer months that is not safe to make cheese? Here, what's that? Something? Adelaide? Oh, here in Adelaide, the house might be around 28 degrees during the day. We do not have ducted air conditioning. No, that should be fine. As long as the temperature of the room you're making in is lower than the temperature of the milk has to be during the make. So if it's like a 35 degree day and it says in the recipe, bring your milk to 33, you're going to have a hard time doing it, basically. So yeah, as long as the ambient temperature in the room that you're making the cheese is lower than the target temperature of the milk for the recipe, then you should be good to go. The only trouble you may have is air drying, and at that high temperature, above 28 to 30 degrees Celsius, you're going to find that the cheese may sweat instead of air drying, because the it's just too warm. So the best thing to do there is to air dry it in the ripening fridge in your cheese cave. So that's the only things really to consider. My place is air conditioned. Well, the room I'm in. So over the summer months, I probably don't make as much cheese as I normally would. I wait for it to cool down a little bit. And you'll see, if you look on the channel during those months, during our summer, then you'll actually see there's a lot more taste test videos than there are actually making cheese videos. But if I do make a cheese, it'll usually be a fresh one, Michael, that is quick and easy to make. And then it goes straight into the kitchen fridge. Or I just try and make cheeses that can be matured in the kitchen fridge. And you've probably seen a few. I like to pull out a Bel Paese around the summer months as well, because it just ripens in the fridge for about 10 to 14 days, and then it's right to go. So that's what I tend to do. But yeah, people in air-conditioned houses in summer don't usually have too many problems. All right, so the next question is from Shauna has a statement. It says, I enjoyed and watched and enjoyed the Gavin Reacts. It flowed well and was a good link. Thank you, Sean, appreciate it. I thought that 40 minutes might be a bit too long, but I think it was the sweet spot, really, because there was lots of different sorts of cheeses to learn about, which was good. And it's all about learning, so... Elliot, hello Elliot, says, hey everybody, not a question, I just wanted to say, Gavin, aside from all the excellent advice you provide, you literally saved us money too. Thanks Elliot, appreciate it. Yeah, when you do pump out cheese from store-bought milk, you can make so many different styles of cheese that would be prohibitive to buy, depending on where you live, of course. If you're living in Europe, then not too many problems getting reasonably priced cheeses that are a great variety. However, here in Australia, artisan cheese is expensive. It's not cheap. And different styles of cheese don't readily get imported into Australia because there are rules around importing raw milk cheeses. Food Standards Australia have only let a few cheeses in. So cheeses like Roquefort has only recently been able to be imported into Australia, made from raw ewe's milk. So, and there are a few other raw milk cheeses that just don't make it to our shores here in Australia. So, Elliot, thank you so much for that statement. Indeed, you can make your own cheese at home, and I've proved that over many, many times. And so many curd nerds here watching today and in the past and in the future, I dare say, also make their own cheese at home and would never be able to afford, the size of cheese that they make. So, yeah, I think it's a cool thing. Wodge says, I think the gallery video needs a table of contents so that one can go fast forward to a certain cheese type. Other than that, that is a great idea, Wodge. Thank you so much. I can put chapters in. Okay, that's a good idea for React's video. Okay, I'll do that. In fact, I'll retrofit that video. I'll do that tomorrow. And get some chapters in there, and then the next one I release, there'll be an episode 2, 3, and 4. I hope. I will put chapters in there for the different types of cheeses. So, no, good call, that one. And as you said there, other than that, perfect. I think that's a perfect sign. Elliot says, I was confident in simply cutting away some mould from a jack instead of tossing the whole block, and I'm sure you've helped people save money in similar contexts, and I'm sure it's not a small amount. Look, indeed, and the reason I made those bad mold and good mold YouTube shorts and compressed it into a nice small format, because it didn't deserve like a 40-minute video around mold on cheese and cutting pieces off. I went and actually looked at some medical texts. Well, not medical texts, some biology texts on cheese making and the scientific papers. So I went and checked the facts before I stated anything. And it talked about how far mycelium will penetrate into harder cheeses versus softer cheeses. And as I mentioned, if it's a harder cheese, then it hardly, if that makes sense, hardly penetrates from the rind into the cheese, the body of the cheese itself. However, if you get mold on fresh cheeses, then they're a lost cause. You don't know, especially if you didn't introduce the molds to that cheese yourself, then it's a lost cause. I wouldn't eat it personally, because they could be toxic. There are toxic molds, especially black mold. If you get black mold on any of your cheese, then try and, if it's a harder cheese, just wash it off with a simple brine solution. But if it's a fresh cheese, throw it in the bin. Nothing you can do about it. I wouldn't even give it to my chicken, because she would, and I've only got one chicken left out of the flock of about 14. That's a different story. But yeah, I wouldn't give it to her, because it'd be toxic, and she may not survive the food. Peter says, I live in a country where there's no word in the language for cheese, which is strange. Well, it's not strange, I suppose. If that country, and you're talking about Zambia, I think. If the country has no cheese culture, as in not starter cultures, but cheese culture, know what I mean? Like coffee culture here in Australia, in Melbourne especially, coffee is, everybody gets coffee. In some countries, everybody gets cheese, especially around European countries, and anywhere there they colonised and brought cheese making to those shores. Especially in a hot place like Zambia, Peter, you're probably right. There probably has never been a cheese culture. There's probably a word for something similar to yogurt, because I'm sure whatever animals they had, they would make some sort of yogurt drink or clabber. So, but as far as hard cheeses and stuff, you're absolutely right. Jean, lovely to see you, Jean. Nice blue tongue lizard in your picture too, by the way. Very cool. Says, hey Gavin, I tried using top of the line Woolworths full cream milk, but had enormous trouble setting curd above a yogurt looking mess. 4 litres of milk, 1 ml of rennet, 2 ml of calcium chloride. Okay. There's no other follow-up. Right, so it depends on how they pasteurise the milk, Gene, and that's the problem. A lot of them just say pasteurized, and that doesn't. And pasteurization in commercial terms can go from 72 degrees for 15 seconds to even higher. So ultra heat treated milk or ultra pasteurized is about 132 degrees Celsius. So over boiling point, so it's under steam pressure basically, and it's for about 5 seconds, and that denatures the proteins in the milk and destroys the what's called capsaicin, and therefore and all of the soluble calcium is destroyed within the milk as well, which is weird because we drink milk for calcium to strengthen our bones. That's what it used to be advertised for anyway. So ultra pasteurization and the UHT milk destroy a lot of the calcium in the milk. So they end up adding that back as a powder, which is a bit stupid. Why not leave the milk how it is? So you may have had trouble with that. So depending on the type of milk, it says full cream milk. Probably cow's milk, I would assume. So 4 litres, 1 ml of rennet. So normally for 10 litres, I use 2.5 mils of single strength rennet, and it depends on the rennet you're using. Yeah, you could. It could be the rennet. Could be. I tend to use an IMCU 200 one we sell on the shop here. It's by CHR Hansen. It's called Chimax Plus, and that works no problems at all. In fact, I've used it up to over a year past its best before date, so I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. So it could be the rennet. So I would check that out as well. But test it with an unhomogenized milk if you can get it. So you'll find that may make a big difference. Okay, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the gallery. So let's bring that up. Where is my gallery? Some lovely photos today. Okay, the first one is from, hang on, before I've got to show it first. The first one is from Jan Oliver. Thank you, Jan, for sending this in. She's pressing a manchego here, and it says, I'll read the note she sent me. It says, "Hi Gavin, continuing my cheese journey. This week my manchego mould arrived. I had not intended to make more cheese in a few weeks, but looking at the new mould got the better of me. I used your recipe for the quantities, as the mould was for 8 litres of milk, and I used Cheese 52's process, which added a step to weigh down the curds underway before putting it into the mould and the press. My spring press was a little small for the height of the new mould, so my hubby made me a simple press with 2 chopping boards and a length of dowel that worked great. Yeah, they're a very simple press, and they do work very good. Right, so that's the first photo. So final press at 14 kilos for 6 hours. And there it is, out of the mould. I love that basket weave style plastic mould. They look really cool. So well done. So that's getting ready, and you've got a brine bucket there behind that you're ready to pop that in. And here it is. It says, this morning after air drying for 3 days, I rubbed the surface with a mix of olive oil, sweet paprika, not smoky, sweet paprika and cinnamon, and just waiting for it to soak in a little before I vacuum seal to age in the cave. I'm just wondering if the surface oil needs to be dry before I vacuum seal. So from my recent experience with the smoked paprika kefili, I'll just make my head bigger. Where is it? What I did is I rubbed it. So I rubbed it straight out of the mold to retain a bit of moisture, but that was for kefili. Manchego will be a lot firmer. It's a harder cheese. Now the oil won't dry. It absorbs into the rind of the cheese, making the rind firmer, and you would see that as it progresses along. Also, I would recommend that you cut. So this bit here, I don't see the pointer. this bit here is an artifact from the mold. It's best to trim that off because it can, well, it inhibits you cleaning the cheese when mold starts to grow. And inevitably, even though you're using an olive oil and the spices there to rub on it, you will get mold growth. So what I recommend doing for about 3 weeks is to continue with the so every couple of so what did I do? I did it twice a week. So twice a week I would put a little bit of more olive oil on, bit more sweet paprika and cinnamon, and rub that all over again. You'll find that it absorbs into the rind. It won't penetrate very far. It'll only penetrate a little bit, and then you can vacuum pack it. Because what will happen is when you vacuum pack it, it does suck a bit of moisture out of the cheese. For cheeses that are not very firm or haven't air dried for a few weeks naturally first, and you'll lose all that colour. You'll lose all the colour. You may even lose some of the flavour because you'll get moisture on the surface of the cheese, and you're trying to avoid that. So that's what I recommend anyway. Take it with a grain of salt, but hopefully that helps you, Jan. And thank you for sending those in. The next photo is from Shauna, and Shauna's got a blurb here too she sent through. There it is. It says, good morning, Gavin and Kim. A couple of photos for the gallery. First is my saffron manchego out of the brine. I think I may have used just a wee bit too much saffron. Yeah, you can see the colour is pronounced, and once again using that mould. Now, Shauna, my advice to you as well, see this little lip you've got here around the outside of the cheese? What I usually do, and this prevents any mold build-up, is just trim. You may have already done this already, but just trim that little burr, which is also an artifact from the mold. You need to trim that burr, and you will find that it's easy to clean the cheese if you're not going to vacuum pack it and that sort of thing. So yeah, do that. Highly recommend. That helps you keep the cheese maintained during the aging process. Anyway, but a beautiful looking cheese nonetheless. It looks fantastic. Thanks for sending that in, Shauna. The next one from Shauna is she has made a raclette using Deborah Amon Boy's recipe, naturally aged for 3 months. Beautiful creamy texture, just the right amount of rind, lovely mouthfeel, definitely a winner, and can't wait for raclette potatoes. One of my favourite cheese dishes is raclette potatoes. And the rind looks perfect. You can have a look. Can I get in close? Let's have a look. Probably this one's best. So nice rind there. That's dry. That's perfect for a raclette. And you'll find that as you shave off pieces to melt them, the rind will melt as well. But yeah, it is a lovely cheese to make, and does taste amazing. So well done, Shauna. That's a fantastic looking cheese. We have another photo from Shauna. This one is truffle manchego. It says your manchego recipe with fresh truffles grated throughout. Natural rind, but have vac packed the pieces in the kitchen fridge. Really taste nice. Though next time I add truffles, I have to wait until winter. I'll reduce the lipase a little. Yeah, it's rather strong in that recipe. So yeah, it is a good idea. Yeah, that truffling, is that a word? Yeah, it is. That's to go search for truffles. But the truffles look amazing through this cheese, so I'd love to try a piece. It's just absolutely amazing. But well done. I think next time I'm going to contact my truffle man down in Tasmania and hopefully get some more truffles for another video. That would be lovely. And I might try this because I think it's time to revisit the manchego, and I'll have to get a manchego mold as well, definitely. Right, and last but not least, this is another picture from Shauna. This is Leerdama, which is a Dutch style cheese. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. It says, my Leerdama's wax split again yesterday and I thought it was late blown. It looks brilliant to me. It looks brilliant to me too. However, if it had gone any longer, you would have ended up with one single big cavity in the middle, a big hole. So I'm glad you cut it open when you did. It looks brilliant to me. Smells amazing. So I have vac packed each half. Still 6 weeks maturation to go. Thank you. So if you find that your cheese, if you're making say Leerdama or Jarlsberg or Emmentaler, those styles of cheeses that have propionic Shamani added to them, if you see it swelling too much in that 2 weeks of warm room temperature, so about between 16 and 18 degrees Celsius, is the warm phase for the propionic bacteria to create the CO2 and therefore the eyes. If you see it swelling too much, put it in the cheese cave, because obviously either it's very active and very warm, or maybe there's a little bit too much propionic Shamani in the milk when you made the cheese. So if you get too much swelling, I would tend to, it depends on how many times the wax cracks, I suppose. If you're doing it that way, then I would certainly put it back into the cheese cave, and that dampens down any future CO2 development from the propionic Shamani bacteria. So I hope that helps, Shauna. And yeah, it does. It looks amazing. But yeah, if you put it in the cheese fridge now at 13 degrees Celsius, then yeah, you won't get any more eye development. That'll be it. And you'll just get flavour development now, which will be perfect. Anyway, thanks for sending those in. Now, if you want to send in any photos for the gallery, you can do that by going to... Hang on, let me just find it again. You can do it by going to my channel page, and you go to the About tab here on the page. And I'm not signed in, I'm on incognito at the moment. But you go down here, details for business inquiry, sign in to see email address. So you click on that and you'll get my email address that you can send photos to. So that's where. You will not see that if you're using iOS or the Android app. You won't find that the email address there. It has to be on a browser. So if you've got a tablet and you've got a browser, or you've got a desktop or laptop, perfect, you'll have no problems finding the email address. Feel free to send any photographs whatsoever. If you've got any videos you want to share, you can do that too. Just send me a link via email to a Dropbox where I can download the video, and I can even include that in the Ask the Cheeseman gallery. It'll be interesting. I've never got a video before. Nobody's ever sent me a video of their cheese. So it would be lovely to do that. So that'll be cool. But yeah, send your photos in, and if they're good enough, not the photo, the cheese, you will feature on a thumbnail for the show. Also, it could be featured in one of the Gavin Reacts videos. So send them in. Even if it's a total disaster, put a question, and I'll try and help you out. Figure out how to fix it. So anyway, so that's cool. Alrighty, we've got some more chat. There we go. Poison Blade says, any ideas for a Halloweeny Franken cheese? Oh, let me think. What could you do? You could make some sort of cheese and add a lot of annatto to it, because it actually turns it red. So the cheese would look like blood. That would be quite amazing. So if for my, say, Red Leicester video, I add 42 drops to make it orange, you would have to add nearly 80 drops of annatto to make the cheese red colour. So and then when you cut through it, it would be all red all the way through. Not like the recent smoky rub paprika kefili, where it was pure white in the middle because it only rubbed the colour on the outside. So yeah, if you use annatto, and it would have to be about 80 drops of annatto to get a red coloured cheese all the way through that. That would look pretty grisly. So that's just an idea, Poison Blade. What type of cheese? It'd be your choice. Anything you normally add a natto to, I would think. Pretty quickly you could do, well, what is it? Oh, it's 26. No, you couldn't do a 4. You could do a fresh cheese with blood in it, but that's about it. Elliot says absolutely about the what's this? Oh, right. So all the cheeseheads are saving tons, and even the simpler info is so helpful. And I'm sure that a million people that watch you without ever commenting. Thank you, Elliot. I do appreciate it. Tony says, "Hi Gavin, I'm new to cheese making and love the channel." Thank you, mate. My question is, if you can make more than one cheese from the same culture, like MA11, what makes the difference in taste between the cheeses? Yeah, good question. So the difference in taste will usually be, it's the curd size makes a difference in taste because it changes the texture, because the smaller you cut the curds, the less whey they retain. Therefore, you'll get a crumblier cheese. What else? The temperature that you cook the cheese at initially can drastically affect how much whey gets retained in the curds as you stir it, and you'll see how quickly they shrink. Also, how long you acidify the cheese before you add the rennet makes a big difference as well. How long you age it for makes it taste different as well. The amount of culture also helps. How much salt you add to the cheese. There's some of the main things. How big the wheel of cheese is changes the taste of it as well. But really, and whether you wash the curds. So you can make a Colby with MA11, which is a basic mesophile, has 2 starter cultures in it, Lactobacillus lactis subspecies lactis and Lactobacillus lactis subspecies cremoris. So those 2 basic mesophiles can be used in, say, cheddar, which is a strong cheese, and they can also be used in Colby, which is a milder cheese. The reason that the Colby's milder, using the same culture, is because you wash the curds and wash away a lot of the lactose that the culture would normally eat and convert into lactic acid, therefore making the cheese less tart. So there are many ways in cheese making to use the same culture and get totally different results, which is cool. Thanks for asking that question. I don't think anybody's asked that before. Shauna says, yes, I trimmed the saffron manchego. Well done. Well done. You anticipated the order. Jan says, thank you very much, Gavin. I will trim the joint and reapply the oil mix for a couple of weeks, then vacuum seal. Indeed. You may find, actually I found personally, and I've done it with, when I made manchego the very first time, and I didn't have a fancy mould like you've got, I did coat it with olive oil. And I did that for a few weeks. And I actually found that was one of the cheeses that didn't grow very much mould on the outside as I was naturally aging it to start with, before I think I waxed it in the end, because it was a smooth rind. It wasn't, like a basket weave like yours. Now, you'll find that a lot of manchegos from Spain, and I'll just add this in, Jan, is that they actually have a paracoat on the outside, and you actually can't eat the rind. So that's how they protect all those little bumps that look like a basket from getting mould in them. They actually dip it in a paracoat, which is very, very thin, and you can't eat the rind because you can't get the paracoat off because of all those bumps. And that's how they mature it without getting any mould on the outside. You can still see that lovely detail. If you buy some commercial manchego made from manchego sheep's milk, you will see on the packet, do not eat the rind. So that's what they do. Anyway, cool. Let's have a look. LP says, if you could only eat one cheese for the rest of your life, what cheese would you choose? I couldn't choose cheese. I couldn't choose one cheese. Choose one cheese. because I love all the cheeses, which is my standard response for what is my favourite cheese. It's all the cheeses. I would be lost if I couldn't try a different cheese. What's the point? Life's too short for one cheese. Oh, there we go. I know it's a crappy answer. Delaney says, I make a lot of creme fraiche, but never cheese. Well, creme fraiche is cheese, technically. It uses lactic acid to set the cheese. You do add a couple of drops of rennet. Well, when I make it, I do. Anyway. So technically, because you're adding rennet to it, is technically a cheese. But, yeah, so there you go. You can call yourself a cheesemaker. Katarina says, almost correct pronunciation of Leodama. The A should be very soft. Okay, I'll have to look that up in a translator. But yeah, very cool. Dr. Ganjamin says, G'day, Chief Curd Nerd. Forgot to add Brevibacteria linens to my tilsit. It's in the brine solution now. Can I still add bacteria to the wash? Thanks. Yes, that will fix it. So if you didn't add it to the milk, not so much of a big deal. Technically, you should, because it helps develop the smooth paste. But washing it more than once with the Brevibacteria linens in the brine solution, so you would have to wash it to compensate probably every 2 days for 2 weeks, because you didn't add that into the milk. So normally I would probably wash it for the first 3 days. So yeah, that may be an issue. So 2 weeks with Brevibacteria linens in the brine solution, and that should compensate. You'll get enough smear on the outside and get that nice orangey sort of looking cheese and soft paste that washed rind cheeses are known for. So, Doctor, I hope that helps. Mochi Bun said, bloody camembert for Halloween. Hey, that would be very cool. God, I should have done a Halloween cheese. So I could have put, oh yeah, and you could, well, no, you couldn't still do it. Oh, it takes 4 weeks, so to pass Halloween. It's only in a few days' time. So you could make camembert, put some annatto in the milk to give it an orangey, maybe a red tinge, because you're only using like 4 litres of milk to make 4 camemberts. And then let the white mould grow over it so it looks fuzzy. Very cool. And then when you cut into it, it's all red on the inside. How cool that, and be gooey like congealed blood. There you go. Very cool. Yeah, good solution. And then some blood cheese topped on bone cheese. What? Yes, we can get carried away with the Halloween cheese. Or Mochi Bun says, I guess bloody ricotta. Hey, Gav. Yes, bloody ricotta. Indeed. You could do that. That would look very cool. Peter says, I make my own mother culture and have made 20 different cheeses. Well done, Peter. Congratulations. Send some photos. Send some photos for the gallery. It would be very interesting to have a look at those cheeses, Peter. The next question is, Ben says, do you have any recommendations for an extremely strong vegan cheese? Ben, unfortunately, we don't make many vegan cheeses on the channel. Technically, they're not cheese, and I kind of stick to dairy products on the channel. Even though, and I don't know if you've noticed it, there's a vegan cheese kit we've got here. So what they do to make it stronger is into whatever nut milk they're using, they tend to add more yeast flakes, and that makes the flavour stronger for vegan cheese. So that's a tip. There's a question here. I think you may have missed a question about Bowland, Lancashire. Peter asked. Thanks, Peter, and thank you, Elliot. I do have a Lancashire. Do I have a Lancashire? Hang on. I've made so many videos, I can't remember what I have and haven't made. Let me just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So we're going to have a look. Lancashire. Look at that. I did make Lancashire. Okay, so excuse the ad that'll pop up in a second. There we go. We've got ads. Let's get rid of that before I get a copyright strike. Yes, Lancashire. I have made that. I don't know if it's Bowland, Lancashire, but here we go. There you go. Peter, hope that helps. There's a Lancashire for you. And follow that recipe and you should be good to go. I have had reports back that it's not as good, apparently. I don't know how they would know. They never tasted my Lancashire. As good as the real thing. I think some recent comments in that video. But, yeah, it will be interesting. And you've just said Bowland has dried fruit apple. Oh, perfect. You could do that. No problems at all with that recipe. Just add the dried fruit into the curds when you add the salt and then put it in the mould. So there you go. Oh, and cinnamon as well. Nice. That'll be interesting. Okay, Wodge says, can I proceed with less milk than the recipe says if I'm going to wax the cheese, or is the cheese going to age badly? All right, let me read that again. Can I proceed with less milk than the recipe says if I'm going to wax the cheese? No, it should age all right. As long as you've adjusted everything like a recipe, like you normally do. So if you halve the milk, obviously halve the culture, halve the rennet, all that sort of stuff. And aging, you'll age it less as well. The smaller the cheese, the less it ages, and the less, well, it should retain the same type, the same amount of moisture, so you shouldn't have too many problems with it. Very nice, bland. It's far from bland. But yeah, so that's what you can do there. Shauna says, I made Lancashire today. I have family coming for the Christmas holidays and is my father-in-law's favourite cheese. It should turn out all right, because I actually compared my Lancashire cheese with a piece I bought from Woolworths. We still have Woolworths here in Australia. And yeah, it tasted nearly the same as far as I was concerned. Mine was a little bit stronger, but probably the commercial version may have been milded down, if that's a word. But yeah, it should be very cool. Well done, Shauna. Delaney says, my creme fraiche is cultured buttermilk and whipping cream. Any cheese use buttermilk. Buttermilk is definitely cultured, and I've used many buttermilk in quite a few recipes, not a heck of a lot, probably 3 or 4, as a substitute for aromatic mesophilic starter culture. So yeah, you should be good to go there. And yeah, that will work. And that's how you get creme fraiche. Well done, Delaney. It's very good. Let's have a look. Julia says, hello everybody, just popped in on the last minute on my late night break at work. I hope you are having a good long weekend. Is there a long weekend this weekend? Oh, it's Cup Day on Tuesday. Goodness me, I'll have to take Monday off as well. Might shut the shop. Depends. It's Christmas and we're getting so many orders at the moment. It's crazy. So don't forget. Right, it's nearly time for the end of the show. I haven't got to everybody's question, unfortunately, so sorry about that. Don't forget that if you want to learn how to make cheese, then you could do no better than going to the Curd Nerd Academy. Pop over to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au and you learn how to make 9 cheeses from start to finish, including recipe cards and all the basics of cheese making up front. I've got videos. I've got, there's lots of notes and stuff that you can print all out, everything. And there's even a free copy of my first book. Where is it? Keep Calm and Make Cheese. It might pin in the chat, it might not. We'll see how it goes. There it is. So yeah, so that's how you can make cheese. Now, if you want to get supplies, and there is a huge Christmas rush on. I think people are getting all their cheese making supplies so they can make cheese for Christmas. if you celebrate Christmas. Hang on, let me put that back up there again. It's littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You can get all your cheese making supplies. We ship to many countries throughout the world. Unfortunately, we don't ship to Europe, UK, and Africa. We have a lot of trouble shipping to those countries. Plus, there's some tax issues with the EU and the UK. But certainly a lot of Asian countries and North America seems to be fine. So, alrighty. And finally, if you want to get some merch, then pop over to merch.cheeseman.tv. Pick yourself up a cool cup like this. Certified Curd Nerd. There's lots of other good stuff there, including my 2 ebooks, Keep Calm and Make Cheese and Keep Calm and Make More Cheese. And yeah, lots of t-shirts and mugs and stuff and that. Anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. Appreciate your time. As always, without your questions, it wouldn't be much of a show, and it's more enjoyable, of course, on a Wednesday night for me because I get to have a little tipple of my blend. It's lovely. Bottoms up. I will see you on the weekend show on Sunday morning my time. And if you don't catch it that time, then there's next Wednesday, of course, as well. All right, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.